Look at this guy's face. Just take a long, hard look. Tell me what you see in his eyes. I love this painting, done by yours truly. No, I really, you know, Geronimo has always been a kind of a mentor of mine, along with Crazy Horse. I always put those two in the same category, pretty close, almost like a yin and yang type thing. But actually, if you look at this face, and when I did this painting, I looked at several photos of Geronimo from different angles and just tried to capture not only the physical features, but maybe some of the spiritual features as well. The yin and yang of Geronimo, maybe. You got to look at his face here and kind of look at it as a landscape, or let's say a projection of energy even. And if you look at it long enough, it actually will like start to maybe even shapeshift a little. You got to stare right into the eyes, or you could stare at the tip of the nose. This is a shamanistic painting. This is a painting done by a shaman. Now, if you look at the face here, I hope you can see the arrow, but if you look at this side of his face, which would be the left side, and this side of the face, which would be the right side, you see a lot of things. Now, on this side, I tried to portray a compassionate look. If you just block off this side, more of a compassionate look. More of a, let's say, the goddess energy. And then on this side, you have pure yang energy. You have pure warrior energy, warrior up energy right here. Okay. And Geronimo did warrior up. Geronimo was the supreme warrior. Goyathle was his Apache name. Goyathle. One who yawns. One who yawns. Kind of wonder where he got that name. I know where he got the name Geronimo, but, and I'll explain that later, but I don't think there's really any historical evidence about how he got the name One Who Yawns. I once said that he probably just looked around him and looked at everybody that was around him, being the supreme warrior and medicine man, and just kind of went, ah, ho hum. But anyway, so on this side of the face you have the and this is a grimace that Geronimo had. He had a grimace because he was in a lot of knife fights, and he went through a lot of in fact, this is a scar. I'm not sure whether that was it could have been a bullet wound. I think it was a bullet wound, which caused this wound, whatever it was, caused the grimace. Okay, caused his mouth to go down on this side. Yeah, got to look at them eyes, huh? Now, when I did this painting, I actually was thinking of my own warrior self as well. I was kind of, in fact, anytime an artist does a painting, he projects himself or herself into that painting on some level. So here I am. Geronimo was definitely a person that I always looked up to, or let's say respected. Maybe not the word looked up to, but somebody that I had a deep love for, really. Because let's look at this, people. You know, how many people warrior up today? How many people warrior up? And by warrior up, I mean how many people are real, have a definite purpose, and also have a mind that can think for itself, you know. Spiritual warriorship, facing up to the, let's say, vicissitudes of life. He was the supreme warrior. Now, incidentally, he got his name Geronimo from a little skirmish he was in. I won't call it a little skirmish. I will call it a kind of a major skirmish. But skirmish it was, because it wasn't on the level of like platoons, although I think there might have been maybe one platoon of Mexican soldiers. This was happening down in Mexico. This was a fight that he had to get into. It was necessary that he get into, and let me explain why it was necessary. It was necessary because previously he was on a peaceful trip down into Mexico with his family and other families, Apaches. They had this town they went to that they traded in, and then they usually camped outside town, and they traded in this town, and they went in and did their business, and they came back out. It was a normal thing and had been done many, many times. But this particular time, this platoon of Mexican soldiers that had heard of Geronimo and the Apache in general wanted to make a name for themselves. They wanted to swoop in on Geronimo in his camp, okay? And they did, they actually swooped in on the camp. Problem was Geronimo wasn't there. He was in town trading, okay? And they hit at the wrong time. But they did find Geronimo's wife and kids and his mother and other members of the Apache tribe. The female members mostly were left behind, and they went in and decimated. They killed them. They butchered them. All right. I won't go into the grisly details, but you know what people do when they're got a dark mentality. So anyway, Geronimo came back from his visit to town, and when he came back, he was horrified, of course. He found his whole family slaughtered, everything burnt to the ground, all right? Well, what does that do to your psyche? Well, you might see some of that a little bit right here in this side. Think so. Little anger there, revenge, that type thing. And I'm not judging at all, okay? Let me make that perfectly clear. I'm not judging anything here. I'm telling a story, and you be the judge in your own mind. But this was what was in his mind. Now I'm going to circle back to that battle or that skirmish that I told you about. So that happened later. He went back across the border, hunted the people down that did it, swooped in on them, Apache style. It was a real hand-to-hand combat type situation, okay? Bullets flying, people jumping on each other with knives. It was, and Geronimo was just ferocious. He was the leader of the skirmish. He went in for the kill, okay? No questions asked. It was going in for the kill, and they had these Mexican soldiers running around all over the place. Think, screaming in terror, really. And as they were screaming in terror, this is where the part of Geronimo's name comes in. When they were screaming in terror, they were crying out to their Saint Germain or Saint Jerome, or yeah, that's what it was, Saint Jerome. Pretty sure that was it, Saint Jerome. But they were as they were doing this, this is the real interesting part. Okay, so they went through the battle and they won. They slaughtered all the Mexicans, basically. But after the battle, they were all standing around, and his friends were razzing him because they were saying, "Did you hear what they were saying? Did you hear what they were saying when you were in battle?" And so they gave him the name Geronimo, which is Apache for Jerome. Okay, Saint Jerome or Saint Germain. And I have trouble remembering that one, but you got to bear with me. Most of my facts are pretty right on here. So anyway, that kind of tells you why this side of his face is more, let's say, revengeful, warrior up, maybe. And then this side here is a little softer, but not extremely soft. It's just more soft, put it that way. So one of the points that I wanted to make in this video, though, is when's the last time you warriored up? I mean, when's the last time? Let's get down to the nitty gritty here. Oh, shall we? Let's get down to the nitty gritty. All right. When's the last time you warriored up? In other words, when is the last time that you came into your own power? When's the last time that you came into your own power? Now, Geronimo was a supreme medicine man. And so was Lozen, however you want to, the woman warrior that traveled with him a lot. But, you know, supreme warrior here, let's just say that, you know, supreme warrior. Didn't take shit from anybody. All right. Now, when I say warrior up, you get it's coming into your own power. Okay. And again, the power. Let me finish up on that. The power. Indage hogate. Indage hogate. That was the power. Okay, that's how you say that in Apache. I learned that from an Apache actually online when in a documentary. And he had this power, and again, Lozen had the power, and it was psychic power, and it was shamanistic power, and it was energy. It was a beautiful energy. It warned them when their enemies were around. They could disappear into mountains. The Inyan, they disappeared into the stronghold down south, Arizona. And parts are in New Mexico as well. What a great man, you know. And a lot of people try to disparage him because he had to do some pretty radical things, even with his own people, to pull them out of their rut and put them in warrior mode. They became lackadaisical and, you know, living on the res and that type thing. So he had to pull them off the res. And when I talk about supreme warrior here, I'm talking about they chased him for years, and they had thousands and thousands of troops. Couldn't find him. He had a band of about 3,500. So 3,500, I believe, yeah. Took him a long time to even track him down, and when they did, he always had a choice. He never surrendered, ever. He might have surrendered a couple of times and then just to fool them. Go on the res, kick back a while, regroup, and then he'd take off again with a bunch of other people. He wasn't one to be put in subjection, all right, by the blue coats or by the white eyes, all right. Incidentally, the reason they called them white eyes wasn't a really derogatory term. It was because of their eyes, the whites of their eyes were darker than the Apaches, and the Apaches were almost like a coffee color, or had a different hue to them, darker hue. That's why they called the blue coats the white eyes. This is just a Sunday morning ramble I'm doing here. I thought people might just like to listen to me tell stories, okay? And stories are very powerful for different reasons, okay? And they can be used in healing. Healing. Stories are used for healing. So right now I might be trying to heal your warrior side. I might be trying to convey to you your personal power. Taking back your personal power. Don't let anybody push you around. Have definite purpose in life. Definite purpose. Okay? Think in terms of fulfilling that purpose. That is a spiritual warrior. Okay? That is, and also the other part comes in as well when you live in the third dimensional reality. Oh, don't get me wrong, you have to warrior up or be ready on any level. On a physical level, you have to warrior up. All right? That's what's wrong with our society today, is nobody is warrioring up. All right? Nobody, there is no strong spirit of independence, and not going to let people push you around, let's put it that way. And this man, Geronimo, lived to be, 90 years old? After he went off to prison, in Fort Sill, first they sent him to Florida, then they sent him to Fort Sill. When he finally surrendered, for real, didn't have a choice, really. It was for his people. Anyway, they sent him off. He lived, out on Fort Sill, and he lived out there, started businesses, sold his autograph, rode around in a Cadillac one time, the first Cadillac, went to the White House, and was featured in a parade, okay? Forget who the president was. One of those older presidents, in history. So anyway, I'm just kind of rambling on a little bit here today, but I thought you would appreciate this little look. I felt like doing a thing on Geronimo here, and this isn't to promote my art or anything, although, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't, simple as that. Anyway, I think I'll just kind of sign off now. This is Roger Thunder on a Sunday morning in Sandy Valley, Nevada, out in the middle of nowhere, and the wind's blowing, and it's winter, and it feels good. I love it. Love this feel, man. You can have the summers, okay? Anyway, I'm out of here. Adios.